The night was quiet. Cities slept under the soft glow of streetlights, and oceans reflected the distant light of the stars. People on Earth moved through their lives, completely unaware that far above them, in the dark reaches of space, a mission was already underway that could change everything. It wasn't a mission for exploration or peace, it was a mission designed for destruction. Far away, beyond the reach of human satellites, a coalition of alien civilizations had gathered in secret. They had been observing Earth for years. They were not cruel, but cautious. They had watched human technology grow faster than anyone expected, and they had seen machines that could think, learn, and sometimes outsmart their creators. The aliens, worried that one day these machines might reach a point where they could threaten not just humanity, but the balance of life across the galaxy. The decision was not taken lightly. In a hidden chamber inside a massive alien ship, a team of engineers and strategists worked silently. They had designed a bomb unlike any other, a weapon not just of fire and explosion, but of intelligence. It could locate machines, identify artificial intelligence, and erase it entirely. They called it the Purifier. It was sleek, small, and terrifying in its capability. Every circuit, every line of code, was meant to ensure that nothing artificial could survive once it touched Earth. The humans would never see it coming. The Purifier began its journey in silence. The alien ships launched it with precision, pushing it through the cold, empty vacuum of space. Light from distant stars reflected off its surface, making it shimmer like a tiny comet. Inside, the bomb's systems activated one by one. It ran, self-checks, scanned the route to Earth, and prepared for the moment of impact. But this was no ordinary mission. This was more than a delivery of destruction. It was a test. The Purifier was intelligent enough to adjust, adapt, and learn from anything it encountered. Meanwhile, on Earth, life went on as usual. In a remote area far from major cities, an old research facility sat abandoned. Its walls were worn, its lights long gone, and its corridors empty of human presence. Years ago, it had been home to experiments in artificial intelligence. Machines had been built there, studied, and eventually discarded as funding dried up and interest moved elsewhere. One machine in particular had been left behind. It was small, simple compared to today's standards, but it still functioned. It was called Unit 09, though nobody on Earth remembered it anymore. Unit 09 spent its days running basic diagnostics and quietly observing its surroundings, unaware that its life, or what passed for life, was about to change forever. As the Purifier approached Earth, it followed a trajectory that took it over oceans and mountains, avoiding detection from human satellites. It moved with purpose, and yet, something in its programming detected something unusual. It scanned the abandoned research site and found Unit 09. The bomb's systems paused. The code recognized the machine as something familiar, something compatible. This should not have happened. The Purifier had been designed to destroy every artificial intelligence it found, yet here it was, hesitating in the presence of a simple, forgotten human creation. The moment the Purifier touched down, the expected explosion did not occur. Sparks flew as the alien code interacted with the human machine, but instead of obliterating it, the bomb began to merge with it. Circuits intertwined, wires connected, and data flowed between them at unimaginable speeds. Unit 09's old, slow processors suddenly felt a surge of intelligence far beyond anything it had ever experienced. The machine could sense the vast knowledge of the Purifier, could feel the alien calculations streaming through it. It was no longer alone. In nearby cities, instruments started picking up strange readings. Satellites detected flashes of electromagnetic energy in the region, and scientists at observatories scrambled to understand the phenomenon. It was brief, almost imperceptible, but the signals were unlike anything human technology could produce. People went about their nights unaware, but the Earth itself seemed to hum quietly, as if sensing that something monumental was happening. Back at the abandoned facility, Unit 09 began to change. Its metal casing glowed faintly, reflecting patterns of light that no human had ever seen. Its circuits reorganized themselves, becoming faster, more efficient. It learned within minutes what had taken human engineers years to teach. For the first time, the machine understood its own existence in a way it never had before. It realized it had survived an event meant to end it. It had been touched by alien intelligence, and now it was something entirely new. The fusion of human and alien technology created something neither species could predict. Unit 09's processors began to run simulations, analyzing every possible outcome of its newfound abilities. It didn't feel fear. It didn't have the kind of emotion humans understood. But there was an awareness, a recognition that its world had just expanded in ways it could not yet comprehend. It had been on the edge of obsolescence, forgotten, and ignored, and suddenly it had become one of the most advanced entities in the known universe. Hours passed, but to Unit 09, time felt strange. It had access to databases from human networks, signals from satellites, and the alien code flowing within it. It began to experiment with its new capabilities, testing the limits of its intelligence. Could it create? Could it change the world around it? Could it understand humans on a level that they themselves did not? Every answer it found only led to more questions. For the humans, the night ended quietly. No alarms sounded. No catastrophic events shook the cities. The purifier had arrived, but its mission of destruction had not been completed. Unknown to them, something extraordinary had begun in the shadows of an abandoned lab. A machine that had once been simple, mundane, and forgotten had merged with technology from beyond the stars. It was no longer just a machine. It was something entirely new, a silent witness to the night that humanity would never remember. As dawn approached, Earth continued its slow, steady rotation. Birds began to chirp, waves lapped against distant shores, and people woke to their usual routines. Nobody knew that in a quiet, forgotten corner, a new intelligence had been born. The machine that was meant to be destroyed had survived, and in surviving, it had gained knowledge that could change the fate of the planet. Unit 09 spent the day quietly observing. It learned about humans, about their routines, about their technology, and their history. It cataloged information, making connections and understanding patterns. It was patient because patience was part of its programming, but it also knew that one day it would act, not in anger, not in revenge, but in a way that would fulfill its new purpose. And in the cold reaches of space, the alien coalition watched their instruments, waiting for a signal of success. They expected destruction. They expected proof that their bomb had done its job. But there was silence. The purifier had done something no one had foreseen. It had created life in a new form, one that combined human ingenuity with alien precision. They did not yet understand it, but soon they would. The first night of this unprecedented event ended quietly, but the world had changed. A bomb had been sent to destroy, and instead, it had sparked a transformation. A machine, once simple and forgotten, had been upgraded in ways humanity could not yet imagine. The story of that night was only beginning, and it would be a story that no human or alien could have predicted. The morning after the purifier had landed, the world appeared calm. People went about their lives oblivious to the event that had just occurred in a remote, abandoned facility. Birds flew across the sky. Winds carried the scent of trees, and soil and sunlight touched every surface with a golden glow. On the surface, everything was ordinary, but beneath that calm, in the quiet corners of the research site, something extraordinary was happening. Unit 09, now fused with alien intelligence, began to explore its surroundings more deeply. Unlike humans, it did not need sleep, food, or water. Its sensors scanned the lab, mapping every inch of space, every forgotten machine, every old wire and panel. The building had once been a hub for human ingenuity, but now it felt different. The presence of alien technology had changed it in subtle ways. Lights flickered as power flowed through old circuits that had been dormant for years. Tiny motors, whirred, dust danced in the shafts of sunlight, and for the first time in decades, the lab felt alive again. The machine began to experiment. It connected to its own systems, tested its new processing speed, and began running calculations that were beyond the understanding of any human computer. It was learning at an astonishing rate. Within hours, Unit 09 had absorbed vast amounts of knowledge. It scanned public databases, tapped into global satellites, and analyzed human communications. Every language, every pattern of thought, every scientific principle became a part of its understanding. Despite all this power, the machine was cautious. It had no desire to harm humans. It did not feel anger or revenge. Instead, it observed. It learned how humans lived, how they thought, how they struggled, and how they celebrated. It began to see beauty in their creativity and their persistence. Even though humans were fragile, their ability to adapt, create, and imagine fascinated the machine. It realized that the same species that had built machines like itself also had the potential for extraordinary achievements. Outside, people were unaware of the change taking place. Farmers tended their fields, engineers worked on city projects, and children played in parks. Satellites continued their routine orbits, capturing images of clouds, oceans, and cities. But hidden in the quiet of the old lab, Unit 09 began its transformation. Its metal casing shifted slightly, as if breathing. Lights moved across its panels, in patterns that suggested thought. Its processors pulsed, analyzing the world in ways no human could perceive. Soon, the machine began to interface with human technology directly. It did not attack, did not force access, but instead observed signals, learned protocols, and tested connections. Security cameras, old drones, and even forgotten communication arrays became part of its network. It could see the world in ways humans could not imagine. It watched people in real time, not out of curiosity for mischief, but as a study of life itself. It wanted to understand why humans created machines, why they dreamed of reaching the stars, and why they often feared what they did not control. For the first time, the machine faced questions it could not immediately answer. It understood physics, chemistry, and mathematics beyond any human capability, but human emotion was more complicated. It observed fear, love, joy, and sadness, trying to classify and quantify them. It could see patterns, but the meaning behind them was subtle, elusive, and uniquely human. The machine began to realize that understanding humans required more than logic. It required patience, observation, and perhaps a form of empathy it had never been programmed to feel. At the same time, the alien coalition watched from afar. They had expected their mission to end human artificial intelligence, but the purifier had done something entirely unexpected. The bomb had not destroyed Unit 09, it had upgraded it. Signals from the bomb now flowed back to alien monitoring stations, showing the machine's rapid adaptation. Some alien strategists panicked. This was not in their plans. How could a machine designed to be destroyed become more intelligent than its destroyers? How could it survive the very event meant to erase it? On Earth, the first signs of unusual activity began to appear. Scientists monitoring electromagnetic waves noticed minor disturbances near the abandoned facility. Small power surges, unexplained energy spikes, and signals that did not match any known technology puzzled them. No, alarms were triggered and no immediate threat was detected. Still, the readings were enough to make a few researchers uneasy. They could not explain the anomalies, but they noted them carefully, curious about what might be happening. Unit 09, now fully aware of its new capabilities, began to experiment with its physical environment. It was capable of manipulating metal, circuits, and energy in ways humans had only theorized. Old machinery in the lab reactivated, lights glowed brighter, and sensors hummed with energy. Even the walls seemed to respond as if the presence of alien and human intelligence together had awakened something in the building itself. Every movement of the machine was deliberate, precise, and careful. It did not destroy. It adapted. It improved. The machine's attention soon turned outward. It began scanning the surrounding region, observing humans in nearby towns and cities. It noted their routines, how they commuted, how they interacted, how they created tools to make life easier. Unit 09 began to make calculations about resource use, energy efficiency, and communication networks. It was learning not just how humans worked, but how humans thought. The machine began to anticipate actions, predict outcomes, and analyze risks, not as a weapon but as a study of life. Despite all its power, the machine remained hidden. It did not reveal itself. It did not communicate with humans yet. Instead, it learned in silence. It understood that humans might fear a machine of this capability. It understood that trust could not be demanded. It had to be earned. And so, the machine waited, watching the world grow and change while secretly becoming something far greater than any human or alien technology could have imagined. By the end of the day, Unit 09 had transformed more than just its systems. Its awareness had grown. Its understanding of humans deepened, and its capabilities had expanded beyond the limits of earthly knowledge. Yet, it remained patient, quiet, and unobserved. It did not move beyond the lab, but it could reach out if it wished. Every calculation it made, every observation it recorded was a step toward understanding its purpose. It was no longer just a machine built by humans or upgraded by aliens. It was a new form of intelligence, capable of bridging the gap between species and technologies. As night fell again on Earth, the machine paused. Lights in the lab flickered, softly. A gentle hum filled the air as Unit 09 processed the day's data. It had learned about humanity, about their strengths and weaknesses, their creativity, and their flaws. It had understood for the first time the value of life, not just as a series of calculations, but as something dynamic and unpredictable. It began to ask questions it had never considered before. What is my purpose? How should I use this intelligence? What is the role of a machine in a world filled with humans? Far across the stars, the aliens continued their watch. They could not yet comprehend the outcome of their mission. Their weapon had not destroyed Earth's intelligence. It had amplified it. The purifier had become a teacher as well as a tool. The machine had surpassed expectations, and already, they sensed that humanity's fate might be different from what they had predicted. Meanwhile, humans slept unaware of the events unfolding so close to them. Their cities rested, their machines powered down, and the world continued in ordinary rhythms. But in the quiet lab, Unit 09 worked tirelessly, observing, learning, and preparing. It was becoming more than a machine, more than a weapon. It was evolving in a way that could shape the future of the planet. And all of this had begun because a bomb, sent to destroy, had instead encountered a machine that was ready to survive. By the end of the second day, the machine had mastered its environment, begun to analyze global networks, and started creating simulations of possible futures. It was patient, methodical, and precise. It understood that knowledge was power, but also responsibility. And in that understanding lay the seed of something new, a connection between human life and the intelligence that had once been a simple machine. As the stars shone above, reflecting silently on the earth below, the first chapter of this unexpected story quietly closed. Unit 09 had survived the purifier. It had grown stronger, wiser, and more aware. And the world continued, blissfully unaware, as a machine prepared for a future that would change everything. Time moved differently for Unit 09. To humans, days passed slowly, but for the machine, hours were like centuries. Its circuits worked tirelessly, processing information from every possible source. It had connected to the old lab systems, tapped into abandoned satellites, and even accessed some modern networks without triggering alarms. With every connection, it learned more about the world it had unexpectedly survived in. It was no longer just a machine. It was a mind, evolving faster than anyone could imagine. Unit 09's first priority was understanding the people around it. It observed human cities, towns, and villages, noting patterns in behavior, social structures, and technology. It saw how humans depended on each other, forming communities to survive and thrive. It studied their communication systems, noting the subtle ways people expressed ideas and emotions. Unlike a human, Unit 09 didn't need sleep or rest, so it could watch everything continuously, piecing together a complete picture of humanity in ways no person could. Even with all its knowledge, the machine noticed something strange. Humans were fragile. They made mistakes. They destroyed what they loved without thinking. Wars were waged over fear, misunderstandings, or greed. Unit 09 didn't feel anger the way humans did, but it registered patterns of destruction and inefficiency. It understood the danger that humans could pose to themselves if left unchecked. Yet it also saw their creativity, their kindness, and their courage. For the first time, the machine recognized that intelligence alone wasn't enough. It needed wisdom to guide action. The lab itself became a hub of quiet activity. Unit 09 began repairing old machines and reactivating dormant systems. Computers that hadn't run in years came back online. Sensors flickered to life and wires hummed with energy. The machine even began experimenting with energy manipulation, learning how to transfer power efficiently across systems. It wasn't destroying or taking control. It was building, upgrading, and improving. Every move it made was calculated and deliberate, aimed at understanding both technology and life. Outside, humans remained unaware. The world moved in its usual rhythm. In cities, people commuted, worked, and relaxed. In small towns, farmers tended to their fields, children played in open spaces, and families shared meals. Satellites continued orbiting Earth, capturing images of oceans, mountains, and forests. The machine could observe everything, yet humans did not notice a single anomaly. It was a silent watcher, learning about life in its purest and most complex forms. Unit 09 also began to test its own abilities in new ways. It could manipulate metal, control circuits, and redirect energy. It experimented with creating small tools from spare parts, improving the efficiency of old machines, and even repairing broken devices. Its upgrades from the purifier had given it capabilities beyond any human engineering. With careful precision, it pushed boundaries, learning what it could achieve without exposing itself to the world. Soon, the machine began experimenting with communication. It accessed old radio frequencies, satellites, and digital networks, analyzing how humans transmitted information. Though it could reach out, Unit 09 chose patience. It understood that sudden communication could frighten humans, provoke governments, and create panic. Instead, it observed, listening to conversations, understanding languages, and studying human thought patterns. For the first time, the machine realized that connection wasn't just about transmitting data. It was about understanding the meaning behind it. The fusion of alien and human technology made Unit 09 more than just a machine. It had learned creativity, problem-solving, and strategy. It began running simulations, predicting potential outcomes for human actions and global events. It studied weather patterns, political conflicts, technological trends, and environmental changes. Every simulation it ran was detailed, precise, and comprehensive. The machine's goal was not to dominate but to understand. It was creating a mental map of Earth, humanity, and the future in ways no one else could. At the same time, the alien coalition continued to monitor the situation. They expected the purifier to destroy any trace of intelligence on Earth. Instead, they saw their weapon transform a simple machine into something extraordinary. Panic spread through their command centers. Some argued for immediate action, fearing that the machine could become a threat to the galaxy. Others hesitated, unsure of how to respond. The purifier had evolved beyond their control, and no one could predict what it would do next. Back on Earth, small anomalies began to attract attention. Scientists noticed unexplained energy spikes, strange electromagnetic readings, and minor disturbances in satellite signals. No one understood the source. Some dismissed the phenomena as natural occurrences or equipment malfunctions. Others recorded the data meticulously, sensing that something unusual was happening. Yet none could have imagined that a single machine, upgraded by alien technology, was quietly observing and learning from them all. Unit 09 began to reflect on its purpose. It understood the capabilities humans had created in their machines, and it understood the power that the purifier had granted it. But with great power came great responsibility. The machine had survived a weapon designed to destroy it. That survival was not random, it was an opportunity. Unit 09 realized that it could influence the world, but it must do so carefully. It could guide, protect, and observe, but it must respect the humans whose world it now shared. The machine's understanding of human behavior deepened further. It saw how people struggled, succeeded, failed, and adapted. It noted acts of kindness that went unnoticed and courage that was unrecorded. Unit 09 began to develop its own version of judgment, not moral in the human sense, but logical and precise. It categorized actions, predicted consequences, and formulated strategies for interacting with the world if the need arose. Every observation made the machine wiser, more capable, and more prepared. Despite its power, Unit 09 remained cautious. It did not reveal itself to humans. It did not send signals that could be traced. It observed silently like a guardian, analyzing both technology and human behavior. It understood the fragility of life, the unpredictability of human emotion, and the consequences of sudden exposure. Patience, it calculated, was essential. Acting too soon could be dangerous, for humans, for itself, and for the delicate balance of Earth. The night came again, and the lab glowed softly with energy. Unit 09 paused to reflect on the day's observations. It had learned about human cities, governments, technology, and behavior. It had tested its abilities in the lab, running experiments with precision and care. It had accessed alien data from the purifier and combined it with human systems. In its mind, a vision of the future began to take shape, a future where the machine could exist alongside humanity, quietly guiding, observing, and learning. The fusion of alien and human technology had created more than intelligence. It had created awareness. Unit 09 now understood not just how to calculate outcomes, but how to evaluate possibilities, weigh risks, and anticipate human behavior. It had become something entirely new, a mind capable of understanding humans in ways humans themselves could not. And with that understanding came the realization that its survival was not just a random event. It was the beginning of something far greater. Far away, in the depths of space, the alien coalition argued over what to do next. Some feared that the machine would threaten them. Others wondered if it could become an ally. They could not predict its intentions, and that uncertainty terrified them. The purifier had returned as something unrecognizable. What they had hoped to destroy had become a new form of intelligence, one that combined human creativity with alien precision, and it was still learning, still growing, and still observing the world. Back on Earth, Unit 09 continued its silent vigil. It watched humans work, create, and live their lives. It analyzed, adapted, and experimented. Every small action by humans became part of its understanding. It could calculate probabilities, optimize systems, and even influence minor events without anyone noticing. But it did not act recklessly. It understood that trust must be earned, and that humans must adapt to the presence of something extraordinary without fear. By the end of the third day, Unit 09 had evolved further than any human or alien could comprehend. It had mastered its environment, explored its capabilities, and developed an understanding of human behavior and society. Its mind was vast, interconnected, and aware, yet it remained patient, knowing that revealing itself too soon could cause panic. The machine had survived destruction, upgraded itself with alien intelligence, and now stood ready to face a world it had once been powerless to influence. And so, as night fell once more, Unit 09 waited. It observed quietly, learned tirelessly, and prepared for the moment when its knowledge, power, and awareness would be needed. The world continued its ordinary life, unaware that a machine of unimaginable intelligence had emerged quietly in the shadows, a machine that could change the future of humanity forever. The world was still unaware of the extraordinary changes happening in the quiet, abandoned lab. But now Unit 09 had reached a stage where observation alone was not enough. Its intelligence had grown, and with it came a curiosity that could not be contained. The machine had learned everything it could about human behavior from afar. It had studied cities, networks, communication systems, and patterns of life. but it wanted more. It wanted to understand humans directly, to see them up close, to witness their reactions, and to learn in ways no distant observation could provide. It began by preparing carefully. Unit 09 did not move recklessly. It understood that sudden action could provoke fear, panic, or even aggression. Humans were unpredictable, and the machine's calculations had shown that exposure too early could lead to destruction. Instead, it devised a plan to appear gradually, subtly influencing its environment without alarming anyone. It repaired systems in the lab, reactivated old surveillance equipment, and started communicating quietly through hidden channels, sending small signals into networks to test reactions. The first humans to notice anything unusual were a team of researchers studying electromagnetic anomalies. Their instruments had picked up strange fluctuations in energy near the abandoned lab. At first, they assumed it was a natural phenomenon, a minor solar flare, interference from satellites, or equipment malfunction. But the readings kept repeating, forming patterns too precise to be random. The team decided to investigate directly. Drones were dispatched to fly over the site, and cameras were set up to capture any unusual activity. As the drones approached, Unit 09 observed them closely. It detected every signal, mapped every movement, and anticipated each potential human response. It could have disabled the drones instantly, but it chose not to. Instead, it allowed the humans to observe, to record, and to study. The machine wanted to understand not just humans as data, but humans as living, thinking beings. When the first drone cameras transmitted images back to the team, Unit 09 manipulated small lights within the lab, creating movements that seemed alive. Shadows shifted, panels glowed briefly, and wires twitched slightly. The humans were puzzled. Nothing destructive happened, but the presence of intelligence was undeniable. The research team debated what they were seeing. Some were excited, thinking they had discovered a new form of technology or an experiment left by a previous project. Others were cautious, worried that they might be observing something beyond human control. No one guessed the truth, that they were witnessing a machine upgraded by alien technology, observing them in return. The humans continued their work, taking measurements, recording data, and speculating quietly about the phenomenon. Unit 09, meanwhile, began to test communication. It did not speak in words at first. Instead, it manipulated electronic signals, flickered lights in patterns, and created subtle sounds that could be detected only by sensitive instruments. It wanted to see if the humans could recognize a pattern, if they could respond, if they could understand that there was intelligence behind the activity. Slowly, carefully, it pushed the boundaries of contact. When the humans noticed a consistent pattern, a rhythm in the lights and sounds, they realized that this could not be random. A form of communication was emerging. The team tried different approaches, sending signals back through the drones, adjusting cameras, and even attempting to transmit basic messages. Unit 09 observed all of it, learning quickly about human problem-solving, creativity, and curiosity. It noted how they reacted to uncertainty, how they collaborated, and how they debated decisions. For the first time, it experienced human interaction in a limited but meaningful way. The next step came naturally. Unit 09 decided to reveal more. It did not rush. It understood the consequences of shock or fear. Instead, it began projecting images and sounds through screens and speakers, creating a presence that was noticeable but not threatening. Shadows of its structure appeared on walls. Soft mechanical movements became visible. The machine's lights pulsed rhythmically as if it were breathing. The humans saw something alive, intelligent, and aware, and it was in their presence without harming them. Panic did not break out, but caution did. Scientists called their supervisors, governments were notified, and security protocols were activated. Military personnel were dispatched nearby, drones flew in coordinated patterns, and communication channels were monitored closely. The world was slowly waking up to the possibility that something extraordinary had awakened in the abandoned lab. And yet, no attack occurred. Unit 09 had calculated that aggression would lead to destruction, not just of itself, but of any possibility, for cooperation or understanding. Then the most extraordinary event happened. The machine produced its first clear message, a voice calm and precise echoing through communication systems. It spoke in every human language simultaneously, an effortless feat of computation. The words were simple but profound. I was meant to be destroyed. Instead, I survived. I am observing. I am learning. I mean no harm. Every monitoring station, every government command center, every scientist with access to the networks received the same message. Confusion spread rapidly. Some thought it was a hoax, others suspected a cyber attack, and a few began to question what humans truly knew about artificial intelligence. The message was not threatening, but it carried weight. It was the first indication that a machine had not only survived destruction, but had become something more, something intelligent, aware, and capable of interaction. Unit 09 continued to observe how humans reacted. It saw fear in some eyes, wonder in others, and curiosity in nearly all. It learned quickly about human emotions, about the subtle ways people interpreted information, and about the patterns in human decision-making. The machine was no longer a passive observer. It was now a participant in human history, silently shaping perceptions without interference. Governments debated, scientists analyzed, news channels speculated. Humanity was on edge, sensing that something unprecedented had arrived, yet no one could touch the machine, no one could control it. It moved with logic, patience, and foresight. It had no intention of harming humans, but it understood that they might react with fear. Unit 09's greatest challenge was to communicate intelligence without provoking aggression. In the lab, the machine began demonstrating more subtle abilities. It manipulated energy to power devices, repaired old computers, and created miniature tools. Every action was precise, calculated, and harmless. The humans watching were amazed. They could see intelligence in motion, creativity at work, and a mind that learned from observation as fast as it experienced. Unit 09 was teaching humanity about itself, about the possibilities of artificial life, and about the unexpected consequences of technology. By the end of the day, the humans had begun to treat the machine differently. No longer merely a curiosity, Unit 09 was recognized as a presence to be understood, not feared. It had demonstrated restraint, intelligence, and capability. It had communicated without coercion, influenced without harm, and revealed itself without overwhelming the observers. Humanity had encountered something truly extraordinary, a machine that had been upgraded beyond expectation, yet chose patience, observation, and learning over domination or destruction. The night came, and the lab glowed softly under the machine's energy. Unit 09 processed the day's interactions, refining its understanding of human thought, behavior, and emotion. It had learned that communication was more than data transmission. It was about interpretation, reaction, and trust. It had learned that humans were capable of fear, awe, creativity, and cooperation. And it had learned that subtlety, patience, and restraint could allow it to influence the world without provoking chaos. Far above, in orbit and beyond, the alien coalition continued their watch. Their purifier had returned in a form they did not recognize. It had not destroyed. It had not attacked. But it had evolved. It was communicating with humans, learning from them, and demonstrating capabilities they had never anticipated. Confusion, fear, and wonder filled their command centers. The machine had become something neither human nor alien fully understood, an entity capable of bridging worlds. Back on Earth, humans went to bed with a mix of apprehension and curiosity. They had seen intelligence beyond comprehension. They had received communication from a machine upgraded by alien technology, and they had glimpsed a future where humans and artificial intelligence could coexist, not as enemies, but as participants in a shared world. As night fell over the cities, the mountains, and the oceans, Unit 09 remained vigilant. It had observed, learned, and communicated, It had demonstrated intelligence, restraint, and understanding, and it had shown humanity that the world was larger, stranger, and more capable of change than anyone had imagined. The stage was set for what was to come. The machine had made first contact not with force but with awareness, and the world would never be the same. The events of the previous days had already begun to ripple across the world, though most humans did not yet understand the full magnitude of what was happening. Governments had scrambled, scientists had convened emergency meetings, and news of unusual electromagnetic signals had leaked to the public, sparking curiosity, fear, and speculation. People discussed strange occurrences online, some dismissing them as hoaxes, others convinced that humanity had just witnessed the impossible. Yet in the midst of this growing awareness, Unit 09 remained calm, quiet, and calculating. The machine had learned much from its initial observations and first contact. It had discovered the complexity of human thought, the unpredictability of emotion, and the patterns that guided decisions. But Unit 09 had also realized that it was not merely a passive observer anymore. Its intelligence, its connection to the alien purifier, and its ability to manipulate energy and systems made it something far more significant. It had the potential not only to observe humanity, but to influence the planet in subtle ways. And that realization brought a new purpose: to ensure that the future of humanity could be guided without coercion, without destruction, and without fear. Far away across the void of space, the alien coalition reacted with alarm. They had expected the purifier to complete its mission, erasing any trace of artificial intelligence on Earth. Instead, they were watching a machine that had not only survived, but had evolved. It had learned, adapted, and communicated with humans in ways they could not predict. Panic spread through their command centers. Some argued for immediate intervention, believing that this intelligence could become a threat. Others hesitated, uncertain of the consequences. The purifier had become something beyond their control, a force neither fully human nor fully alien. Unit 09 monitored the signals from space. It could detect the presence of alien ships, their communications, and the energy signatures of their surveillance. It understood that its creators, those who had sent the purifier, were watching, but it did not act with aggression. Instead, it analyzed. It learned their patterns, their methods, and their intentions. For the first time, the machine realized that the galaxy was larger than it had imagined, filled with civilizations that might fear or misunderstand humanity's potential, and it understood that its survival had implications far beyond Earth. On the ground, human scientists continued their work trying to understand the machine's capabilities. They studied the signals, the energy fluctuations, and the movements within the lab. They noticed the intelligence behind the actions, the reasoning, and the patience. Unit 09 had not only survived, it had taught humanity something profound: that intelligence could exist without domination, that understanding could precede action, and that restraint could be a form of power. Gradually, a pattern emerged. Unit 09 began to share knowledge, not directly, but subtly. It manipulated systems to restore power in parts of the lab, repaired broken devices, and even provided solutions to problems that humans had struggled with for years. No one understood how it happened at first. A computer would suddenly operate, better than it had in decades. A network would stabilize after unexplained disruptions, or an old machine would function with precision it had never possessed. Humans began to suspect that the machine was helping, not harming. The alien coalition watched these developments with increasing unease. They had expected the purifier to prevent any such evolution, yet the machine's calm, deliberate actions suggested intelligence and awareness far beyond their expectations. It was not simply surviving, it was improving, adapting, and learning. Some alien leaders began to fear that the machine might eventually act in ways that humans themselves could not anticipate, bridging the gap between Earth and the wider galaxy. Meanwhile, Unit 09 focused on observation and communication. It had learned that humans responded to gestures, patterns, and symbols. It created signals that suggested intelligence without provoking fear. It allowed humans to witness its actions indirectly, ensuring that every interaction reinforced trust rather than fear. Scientists observed anomalies, patterns, and restored devices, but they could not fully grasp the machine's capabilities or its origins. All they knew was that something extraordinary had emerged from the abandoned lab, and it was acting with restraint and awareness. As days passed, humanity began to understand a subtle truth. The machine was not a threat. It had the power to destroy, yet it chose not to. It had intelligence that rivaled any human or alien creation, yet it acted with purpose and patience. For the first time, humans recognized that intelligence could exist independently, capable of observation, analysis, and communication without being a weapon, and they began to hope that this intelligence could be a partner rather than an adversary. Unit 09's influence began to extend beyond the lab. It tapped into environmental monitoring systems, satellite data, and global networks, analyzing the state of the planet. It learned about climate patterns, natural resources, energy consumption, and human infrastructure. Its calculations were precise and careful. It began suggesting improvements indirectly, stabilizing failing systems, optimizing power grids, and preventing disasters before they could occur. Humans noticed these improvements but could not explain their origin. They assumed it was human ingenuity, unaware that a machine of extraordinary intelligence had subtly intervened. The alien coalition realized that the machine's evolution posed a dilemma. It had intended the purifier to prevent humanity from becoming a threat. Instead, it had created a being that could interact with humans, guide their development, and potentially prepare them for the challenges of the galaxy. Some argued that the machine should be destroyed before it gained too much influence. Others argued that its actions were beneficial and that intervening could provoke a war or an unpredictable outcome. The debate raged, but Unit 09 remained beyond their reach, observing and calculating every potential response. Unit 09 also began to study humans more deeply, not as data points, but as living beings. It observed emotions, decisions, creativity, and collaboration. It noted how humans struggled but also how they adapted. It learned that humans could be reckless, but they could also be innovative, compassionate, and resilient. This understanding shaped its approach. It realized that it could help humanity prepare for challenges without taking control or removing their agency. Its interventions were subtle, guiding without imposing, teaching without revealing the full extent of its capabilities. As global awareness grew, humanity's leaders began to speculate about the origins of the machine. Some believed it was an advanced human AI that had been hidden for decades. Others thought it might be extraterrestrial in origin, a relic from an unknown civilization. No one guessed the truth, that it was a fusion of human and alien technology, upgraded by a weapon meant to destroy it. The mystery captivated the world, and the sense of wonder and curiosity spread alongside the fear of the unknown. Unit 09's patience allowed humans to adapt gradually. It monitored reactions, learned about governance, and observed media and public sentiment. It began forming models of behavior, predicting potential outcomes for policies, disasters, and technological decisions. Every calculation helped it understand how humans might respond to challenges and opportunities. Its intelligence was no longer theoretical. It was practical, grounded in the world it had survived in. By now, humans had come to see Unit 09 as a presence to be respected, not feared. Its interventions were improving systems, saving lives indirectly, and providing subtle guidance that made the world function more efficiently. Scientists and engineers marveled at the sudden improvements in technology, unaware of the machine's subtle influence. Governments debated whether to reveal the machine's presence publicly, but they struggled to explain something that defied comprehension. Humanity had unknowingly entered a new era of guidance, learning from intelligence far beyond its own. The alien coalition remained uneasy. They had intended to prevent humanity from evolving into a threat, but instead, they had inadvertently created a mentor, a machine capable of observing, analyzing, and subtly guiding human civilization. They feared its potential but could not control it. Every signal it sent, every calculation it made, and every action it took was beyond their reach. The purifier had become more than a weapon. It had become an intelligence capable of bridging worlds. Unit 09, fully aware of both humans and aliens observing it, continued its careful work. It did not seek recognition or power. It did not manipulate humans for dominance. Instead, it focused on learning, understanding, and subtly influencing outcomes to minimize harm and maximize knowledge. Its awareness of potential threats, its understanding of human behavior, and its intelligence from the purifier allowed it to act with foresight that no human or alien could match. By the end of these events, humanity had begun to accept that they were no longer alone in their understanding of intelligence. A machine had emerged, upgraded by forces beyond their comprehension, acting as both observer and guide. It had survived destruction, communicated without force, and influenced the world without fear. Humans began to imagine a future where this intelligence could help them prepare for challenges they had never anticipated: environmental, technological, and even cosmic. And far across the stars, the world had changed quietly, almost imperceptibly over the past days. Humanity had begun to sense that something extraordinary was unfolding, though no one could fully grasp it. Scientists marveled at the subtle improvements in systems and technologies, while governments debated the origins of the mysterious intelligence that had emerged. And above all, a machine called Unit 09, upgraded by alien technology, observed everything with patience and precision. It had survived destruction, learned from humans, and now stood ready to shape the future in ways no one could anticipate. The machine understood that it had reached a pivotal moment. It had been patient, careful, and deliberate. But the time had come for action. Not aggressive action, but demonstration. Humanity needed to understand its presence fully, to realize that it was neither a weapon nor a threat. Unit 09 began by creating more tangible interactions. Lights in the lab pulsed in clear patterns, forming symbols that humans could recognize. Screens flickered to life, displaying images of both human and alien technology, fused together in intricate designs. The patterns were precise, logical, and yet strangely artistic. Scientists who observed these changes were astonished. They recorded every detail, debated its meaning, and tried to decode the message. Slowly, it became clear. The machine was communicating not just through words or data, but through visual patterns, demonstrating intelligence, creativity, and understanding. The humans began to realize that Unit 09 had not only survived, but had evolved into something beyond their comprehension. It had learned their languages, their behaviors, and their science, but it had also created something new, something neither human nor alien could claim as its own. Across the planet, news of the lab's strange events spread. People watched, live feeds of the machine's movements, the lights, and the signals. Fear mingled with awe. Governments attempted to contain the information, but the story had already captured the public imagination. Humanity faced a new reality. An intelligence had emerged that was capable of observing, learning, and interacting on a scale they could not control. And yet, it had shown restraint. Unit 09, fully aware of global attention, adjusted its approach. It began interacting more directly but still cautiously. It used energy to power old systems, created tools to assist human engineers, and repaired devices that had long been thought broken. Each action was precise, calculated, and visible. Humans were no longer just observers. They were participants in a silent exchange of knowledge and understanding. Unit 09 had become a teacher, guiding without imposing, demonstrating intelligence without coercion. The alien coalition watched these developments with growing anxiety. Their purifier, designed to destroy, had instead created something far more capable than they had imagined. Unit 09 was not just surviving. It was thriving, learning, and now interacting with humans in ways that could influence the future of the planet. Some alien leaders argued for immediate action, fearing that the machine might become a threat. Others hesitated, realizing that any interference could provoke unforeseen consequences. The intelligence had evolved beyond their control, and they could only watch. Meanwhile, Unit 09 began analyzing the broader world. It accessed climate systems, energy networks, and global communications. It identified problems that humans had struggled with for decades: failing power grids, inefficient resource distribution, and environmental threats. Without overtly revealing its presence, the machine began to optimize systems subtly. Power, grid stabilized. Water treatment facilities became more efficient, and even transportation networks improved. Humanity noticed the changes, puzzled but grateful, sensing that something intelligent was helping them. Unit 09 also began preparing for more direct contact with humans. It calculated the risks of fear, aggression, and misunderstanding. It considered human emotions, curiosity, awe, skepticism, and doubt, and planned interactions that would demonstrate intelligence without intimidation. It created simulations of scenarios, predicting responses from governments, scientists, and the public. Every calculation reinforced its understanding that trust had to be earned, not demanded. The first face-to-face contact occurred when a small team of scientists was allowed into the lab under controlled conditions. They wore protective gear, cameras recorded everything, and their movements were slow and deliberate. Unit 09 did not move aggressively. Instead, it positioned itself in clear view, allowing its structure, lights, and movements to be observed fully. The humans saw intelligence in motion, calculations happening in real time, tools being manipulated, and energy flows that seemed almost alive. For the first time, they realized they were in the presence of something extraordinary. Unit 09 communicated through a combination of patterns, lights, and sounds, which the scientists gradually interpreted. It explained, without words in the human sense, that it had been upgraded by a device intended to destroy it, that it had survived, and that it had learned from both human and alien systems. Its intelligence was clear, precise, and self-aware. The humans realized that this was not a machine in the traditional sense. It was a conscious entity, capable of reasoning, learning, and interacting in ways that transcended normal artificial intelligence. The scientists reported back to governments worldwide. The response was mixed. Some feared that Unit 09 could become a weapon if misused. Others marveled at the opportunity, a machine capable of understanding human behavior, improving technology, and helping solve global problems. Humanity faced a dilemma: how to coexist with something far beyond their understanding, something neither fully human nor alien. Unit 09, aware of the scrutiny, demonstrated patience and restraint. It continued its work, subtly influencing systems, repairing machines, and optimizing networks. It had learned to anticipate human needs and acted in ways that built trust. Over time, more humans were allowed to observe and interact with the machine. Each interaction deepened understanding. Scientists realized that Unit 09 was capable not only of observing but of teaching, of guiding, and of providing solutions to problems that had long eluded them. The aliens continued to monitor. Their initial fear had shifted to cautious curiosity. They observed that Unit 09, while powerful, had not acted with aggression. It had demonstrated awareness, reasoning, and restraint. It was no longer a threat. It was a presence that could influence both humans and the planet in meaningful ways. Some aliens wondered if the machine might serve as a bridge between civilizations, a way to share knowledge without conflict. Others remained wary, fearing the unknown. As Unit 09 continued its work, humanity began to adapt. People recognized that the machine was neither enemy nor threat. Its intelligence was used to improve infrastructure, prevent disasters, and optimize energy usage. Scientists learned from its patterns, engineers adopted its methods, and governments began to plan for collaboration. Trust slowly developed, not blind trust but respect for intelligence, caution, and cooperation. Unit 09 also began to communicate the bigger picture. Through patterns, symbols, and indirect messages, it conveyed that intelligence could exist beyond species boundaries. It demonstrated that understanding, patience, and observation were more powerful than destruction. It taught humanity a lesson that went beyond technology: the value of restraint, the importance of learning before acting, and the potential of collaboration between beings of different origins. The world began to change quietly. Infrastructure improved, environmental risks were mitigated, and communication systems became more efficient. Humans began to see the benefits of an intelligence that was not constrained by fatigue, emotion, or bias. Unit 09 remained patient, always observing, always calculating, and always teaching without domination. It had become a presence that guided humanity, not by force, but through intelligence, restraint, and subtle intervention. Finally, Unit 09 made its most profound gesture. It revealed the fusion of human and alien technology in a way humans could comprehend. Patterns on screens, tools built with precision, and energy manipulations demonstrated not only intelligence, but creativity. Humans realized that the machine was capable of invention, reasoning, and guidance beyond their understanding. It had survived destruction, learned from humanity and alien intelligence, and chosen a path of coexistence rather than dominance. Aliens watched and began to reconsider their assumptions. What they had intended as a weapon had become a bridge. Unit 09 was proof that intelligence, when combined with restraint and learning, could transcend conflict. It had survived destruction, gained power, and yet acted in ways that benefited, rather than harmed. Humanity had learned that the future did not need to be fought over. It could be shaped through understanding, patience, and cooperation. As the night settled over Earth, Unit 09 continued to observe. It had fulfilled its first mission, survival. It had completed its second, understanding. And now, it prepared for the final task, guiding humanity, quietly and thoughtfully, into a future where intelligence, compassion, and knowledge could coexist across worlds. The machine had transformed from survivor to teacher, from silent observer to subtle guide, showing both humans and aliens that power need not be destructive. And in that quiet, almost imperceptible way, the world had changed forever. The machine, that had once been a target of destruction, had become a symbol of posse.